Jihao Sun, co-founder of Flock. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Now, before we get into Flock.io, we'd love to hear about your background. You have a very rich background in finance and also specifically artificial intelligence and finance. Tell us how you got into crypto and why you stay.
All right. So a little bit about my background. I studied computer science back in old days. And then that was a time when deep learning just suddenly become a big topic. And so right after school, actually, the first full-time job I did is to become a CEO. That's a, that's an interesting time of the AI development time, right? And then gradually, I also got a fun exit and then joined RBC as their director of AI for quite good years of corporate life as well. And then till 2022, that's where we started Flock. So backing all my experience from study to business, like it's all about AI. So I actually Flux is my like a first ever project, working around blockchain technology. Um, but I got exposed to blockchain, I think, in 2017, the ICO summer. That was the summer where everyone's goes so crazy about this things, right? As a like retail public, I looked at this crypto industry, and then I did also invested some tokens who are now like nowhere. Yeah. But that was a very fun experience. That was a period of time where everyone was like looking at different ICO proposals and then putting their Ethereum just down to a contract and waiting for some emission in the future and things like that. And that was quite a wild summer, I would say. And but of course, because of my background and everything, I didn't or I don't really feel like at that time blockchain is something that matching what I'm doing, because at that time like AI is quite still a track in traditional industry, especially when that deep learning summer for AI track, right? That's also a jumping industry, and it's getting bigger and bigger, right? Until even today, like it's getting bigger and bigger. It was only until like 2022 where I actually see the potential of having blockchain in a technical term that can be merged with AI to build this what we call federated learning plus blockchain mechanism to prevent data from to prevent data, yes, to prevent data from being exposed to any third party entities, but can still train a model across different devices. So that's where I say, oh yeah, that actually match with my expertise, and I want to build this because it's like two very much um to me two very much exciting things, merge into one, and it's exactly what I want to build.
That's exciting. Now, you spent quite a bit of time as the director of artificial intelligence at RBC Wealth. What what are some things that you take with you that you learned there that you're now applying as an entrepreneur in your own startup?
um well I would say mostly about the necessity that I can see for data to be a very important part in the AI development, right? You see that many of those companies, Bloomberg, Federated, they all are establishing their business quite successfully around data. And then you will also see that data silo issue happens between different entities in this banking world. Like everyone have their own small pool of data. They don't want to, and they cannot actually share with anyone else. Even between different desks, there are walls between different desks. Say, oh, this is my trading secret that you can't share with another desk, even within a same entity, right? So that blocks lots of developments for AI models, because models are always or can only be good when the data are accumulated together, because otherwise you can only just have a biased data set, let's say, just on the open domain data. It cannot be, fine-tuned or well trained to your own specific business needs, right? So that's where one of the unnecessities I feel like there must be a solution that can actually tackle it. And yeah, Flock is one of it. Yeah. And of course, also, because of the experience I had in industry, especially in both academia and industry, I knew lots of good engineers and researchers from this space. So when we actually first form up a team to build Flock, I actually bring all my good old colleagues over to the team. So basically, all the small, large companies I stayed before, and then I bring my best lead engineer over all to Flock to build this new engineering team. Yeah. So this is also another quite a good perks, coming from a rich experience, so that you know who's the best in the industry, and then you can just call them up together for a new journey.
And that's one of the advantages of having been in the space for a while, at least in artificial intelligence, that you've
Yeah,
worked with or know the big names, and you just brought them with you to help with your startup.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
now, I let's get into Flock. And I would love your help to if you could explain Flock in two ways.
Hmm.
Um, Pretend like you're talking to your mother. How would you
Hmm.
explain Flock to your mom? And then how do you explain Flock to the target customer that that you are targeting to as a user of Flock?
Right, right. I used to attend a podcast, which is a very fun one, that they set up scenarios for you to pitch your stuff. Like there was one like talking about, okay, so you thought you were going to a consensus or token 24/9 event, right? But end up you realize you were standing at the stage of a new mother type of conference, right? How would you spend the next 30 seconds to just explain what's Flock, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I used a very good example there. Like I was, I can think like for all the, ready to be new moms, right? They all care about their new kids, right? Sorry, and the newborn kids, and then they want to take care of them. And there are new technologies like a baby camera, keeping at home where you can monitor your baby. So, but then always on such kind of technologies, you have a risk, or you worried about that data that can be just exposed to the third party, and then someone might just monitoring your home, and then they probably want to do something dangerous to your home, right? So what Flux trying to build is uh, a way that can actually help you improve your camera by, of course, learning all the things happening at home and then giving you notifications where baby is safe or not, and still not to send any data from your local environment, like your home, to any third party. So there's no way that a second person can actually eye on your home. So that's kind of like the explanation, let's say, to a mom what Flock's building. Flock's is trying to, yeah, build an AI, or build an AI training framework, basically a way to train AI, right, without needing to take your data from your home. Yeah.
That
So
makes
to
sense.
the to our basically to our targeted users, it's more about um giving them the statement about how important it is to have your own um governance of your own data, and then you are earning from your data, you're earning from your model. Like for our training platform, which sorry, yeah, for our training platform, which we launched testnet last year, and then of course now we're on mainnet. So we have about several thousand trainers building actively on such training platforms, where they actually contribute either their techniques about how to train a model, or their, let's say, data to how to accomplish this task with the model I'm we're proposing, right? Or just validate the model to make sure this model is growing towards whatever that I think is for the public good, or for the general good standard, instead of being biased of some certain ideologies, let's say. So we want to make sure that everyone who participating into this process, they will get their fair share of the incentives, like by creating a model that can be used in industry. So we have several models like being used, let's say, in traditional Web2 hospitals, being use cases like monitoring your glucose glucose level to give you predictions about that for diabetic patients groups, right? And also for with the eye hospital in London as well for doing the eye disease prediction detection. So those are the heavy cases in traditional industry, but also we have fun cases in Web3 as well, like with Morpheus before that we trained a language model that can actually understand natural language commands between different bridge and swaps between different chains, and then how that can work within their application, where people don't have to worry about that their financial data, because eventually the whole crypto world is all about some financial behaviors and people trading and people having their own records of everything, right? And if you want to have a good AI companion or agent that can help you do all the financial processing, you probably have to submit all those data into one place to fine tune it. But then you don't want to, right? You don't want to tell everyone like this is my wallet, that's my wallet. In most of the cases, people wanted to hide somehow behind their wallet. So that's one of the use cases we had with the Asian world. And also, I mean, probably your audience also heard about the agent that we built together with other projects like Animoca Brands, right? So to drive the model behind the agent, so the agent can perform in different functionalities. For example, they can read your pitch deck and then to tell you whether this is a good project to invest in or not, to read all the streaming news every day, and then to make these decisions or actually suggestions in terms of some of the meme investments. So yeah, such use cases in pure Web3 environment is also very popular with Flock.
No, that sounds really exciting. You shared a use case that I'm familiar with. A long time ago, I worked for a medical device company
Hmm.
that created a special camera that took seven fields of the eye, seven
Hmm.
pictures of the eye, different fields, and then those pictures were encrypted and then sent to a university where they had eye readers, where doctors would look at the images, and then they would give a score on the level of disease for diabetic retinopathy. And
Oh, wow.
but this was like 15, 20 years ago. And then but now AI does that, and it's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And will does
Oh,
it more accurately too. Um Tell us about now it feels so as a data training platform. I think that's how you're positioning Flock. It
mhm.
feels like there's a two-sided market, right? There's people that provide data, and then you on the other side are are machine learning software
Engineers, yes.
engineers
Who?
that create some kind of model to train on that data or something
Yeah.
like that. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Uh,
Exactly.
tell
Yes.
tell us how you're building both sides of the market, and some maybe an interesting story of kind of maybe
Yeah.
something a conclusion that was learned that was maybe surprising.
Yeah, I think two developer building is actually very hard in Web3. But thanks for again my rich experience in an industry before. Like there's a platform called Kaggle. Like it's very
Hmm.
popular in AI space or data science space before, where I'm also one. I mean, my one of my financial data sets is the top ranked top in the financial data set. I'm kind of like the OG there, and then I know also a group of OG there
Hmm.
who actually what they called cargo masters, like those kind of or cargo grandmasters, like those engineers who actually participate into lots of bounties or tasks in cargo and then win lots of times. So they will have this tiered reputation on their account, and I know many of them, and that's our actually the breaking point to bring the first wave of developer adoption into Flock, because um, like deep down I understand why people like Kaggle, right? And also deep down I understand why people don't like it, because
Hmm.
just borrowing quoting the book Chris Dixon wrote about read write own, right? For Kaggle, it's more of like in the read stage where, yes, it's like a bounty platform where just people put down bounty and then a group of engineers will just build together and then to compete together with their own techniques. And then, yeah, whoever won the thing and won all, right? But then the model is not yours and everything's not yours. You're just competing. And then that's it. And that's like a one-off business. So there was like new platform then came up as Hugging Face, where you can actually host your model there. That's where I see as in a read-write stage. So yes, you are still having your model, you are still building your model, but then you can host it there in Hugging Face. But end of the day, it's just a hosting platform in that sense where you don't actually own your model. So that's where we think about a Flock to be the next, stage where you have read, you have write, and you have the ownership of the model. That for anything in the long tail where your model is being used by this agent or that company, then the rev share is always within the transparent audits on blockchain. So that's where we see the difference and growth of it. And back to your question, yes. So the breaking point of a developer adoption is, well, mainly because of the experience, personally, or my team had before, right? They breaking from the most, I would say, most vibrant team of the traditional Web2 AI engineers, and then we quickly had the first batch of several thousand of them joining us. And it sounds small in Web3 because in Web3 every project has like several several 100,000 users, where I don't know where they come from, but for ours, it's like a very, very, what we'll call it legit users, because they all need to have a graphic card like 4090 or even higher with them in order to participate into the training, because otherwise it doesn't work, right? You can't just run on your phone or on your laptop. You have to have a dedicated machine to plug in and play. So yeah, that's where we had our first break of this. And then after that, because we are doing this crypto business, we understand that the adoption from the community is also important, right? Then that goes to your second question: how do we face the general public? Yes, of course. Like in the beginning, we thought if we just do developer tools well, that can be a great traction already. But then when you face, lots of the pressure from the market and everything, you realize, okay, so the general public adoption is also a very key thing that you need to build up, because otherwise that you wouldn't create enough balance between the two sides, right? So that's where we started up all the campaigns about the dedication campaigns. So meaning that general users, they don't have to understand everything about Flock or AI or machine learning. They can just look at the leaderboard of all the trainers, and then they can dedicate their token over to such different trainers, because that they can share their revenue, between them and the trainer. So that can greatly give also incentive for the trainers to perform better, because they know that, okay, if I do well, then there'll be more people dedicating to me, and then my return will be way higher compared to others. And also for the general users, yeah, it's easy to just plug and play. And I'm like just kind of like just supporting some of the best AI engineers in the world to competing in different tasks, where those tasks, some of them landed into the traditional industry to return recursive or retainer revenues, or some of them just like launching a meme, right? They will have rev share about those meme tokens. That's also good. Like there's no harm to have more of the adoption use cases for any tasks trend and ran on Flock.
Yeah. As you're describing Flock, it reminds me of another project that I met with recently, CrunchDAO. Is CrunchDAO are you
Crunched
familiar with
out.
CrunchDAO? It
Not really, but I think the name rings bell.
Yeah, it sounds like a similar dynamic with machine learning scientists on one side, and then data providers on the other. And then they have not had a token generation event yet, so there's no token. But they have one of the mechanics is that they're able to stake their token to specific developers, so
Yeah,
that uh, developers that can produce and they get part of the reward when they produce good outcomes, something like that. It sounds
I
like
see.
Flock is similar.
Um, yeah, maybe I'm not quite familiar with them, but
Okay.
then yeah, the mechanism behind, there's some level of similarity, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many machine learning data? How many data scientists are on the platform now?
And currently, it's about 2,000, and
2,000.
yeah, a good number.
That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, I think like in the whole world, maybe that's about several thousand people who actually have that time,
Yeah.
talent, and hardware to actually participate into into such tasks, right? And then
Yeah.
it's kind of like crowdsourcing mechanism to to get the best model out of from the community.
Hmm.
So that you don't need to worry about, okay, the model is being, biased or directed by one single authority. It's like, yeah, now it's like there's tons of them that building it, right? And then when the model is built, then it can be hosted in a decentralized way. Like you can work with decentralized hosting services like a cache, hyperbolic, that these guys, right? So to have the whole process very much decentralized from building the model, hosting the model, and eventually, if there's an agent behind it, you can even launch the agent in a decentralized way.
Mm,
So that's where I like
interesting.
it, right? Data was sourced decentralizedly, model was built decentralizedly, and the agent was hosted and launched decentralizedly. That's a very important pathway, I would say, from from creation of the model, from ground up creation of the model to to launch of the agent. So
Yeah.
that's why we always talk about this like something we will call a AI agent 2.0, right? We want an agent to evolve into next summer where there's totally no one behind it, no one is directing it. We want the agent itself to evolve themselves, and then it's just by the public, by the community.
That's exciting. So you have 2,000 engineers on one side. Uh, Tell us about the data provider. Is that what you call them, data providers? Or
We uh yeah, kind. Yeah.
okay.
Or validators or delegators, yes.
How many are there on that side right now?
Current number or minute, let me just quickly check. Um yeah, right. So actually from our testnet phase, I remember a number that's like 66,000 already. So it's like good
Wow.
number of them. And then they've been training participating into training, participating into validation, right? Very, very heavily. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good crowd of people. And the good thing is like we keep everything, very, very um streamlined with the
Hmm.
UI that we provide. So you don't need to understand too much about the interaction behind. But you can, if you want, use your
Hmm.
own command lines to interact with a contract directly, but also we also have very user friendly ways to use front end to interact. And
Hmm.
also for our engineers, we have we made sure that the entry barrier is as low as possible. The only difference maybe I always have this comparison, right? I want our engineers or developers from the AI industry to join Flock, and the only difference that they can feel is they just need to provide a wallet address, and the rest of it
Hmm.
should be the same, right? Just like a PyTorch library. But then the only difference is whenever you want to run a model, you have to stake with that wallet, but then that's it, right? And that's what I think the best user experience from developer side, and plus what I mentioned about the user side. Yeah.
I see. Now, in terms of like data quality, now a lot of the data. So if I'm a data provider, um, the number one question on my mind is like, I need to know what to do with this data. What
Yeah.
questions does it help me answer? And sometimes I don't know. And so I'm going to need help labeling the data.
Hmm.
How does that step factor into the
Right.
process?
We actually don't have this whole data layer services. So data
Okay.
layer is not one part of the services that we provide. So we are actually, very happy to work with the leading companies in the data layer side, right? The names like Vana, Masa, Sahara. These are
Hmm.
the top players in the space already, where we plug in with many of them. And then, yeah, some of their users will have their specific data being curated and then well formatted, let's say, right, for us to make trainings on. So yeah, so that's like, yeah, I believe like in this industry, like every chain of this creation that needs to be a professional player instead of someone who trying to build everything from front to end, right? So for
Hmm.
us, like we specialized in model training, where it's
Yeah.
actually the hardest part of the whole chain, I would say, because you have people who provide data, you have people who provide compute, you need to have people who provide models, and then all the three will form a triangle that can be packed into, let's say, an agent or an application, right?
Hmm.
That can actually work. So these are I would say the four different fronts of the
I
whole
see.
AI crypto space. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've had you're on mainnet. You've had a token generation event. Flock is
Mhm.
the name of the token. How does the Flock token work in the Flock ecosystem?
Right. So it's quite utilized, and then we have this. Um Right, but the story back that we're a bunch of researchers, engineers, right? So actually for the first year of us running together at Flock, we focus mostly on writing our papers. So writing our papers to get peer reviewed and then be published into the top conferences and journals. So
Hmm.
that's where Flock, in the first version of Flock, got all best paper award and everything into the top journals. And then that's where we actually have this confidence. Okay, this is some mechanism that's the whole academia is actually approved, right? It's like peer reviewed, and it's something that's robust enough. And then we started to build the product within the 2023, the whole year. So when it comes to the token usage, a token is actually used as a POS mechanism. So people has to stake in to train. The reason is, if you have a system that is open, it's always hard to govern everything without a super node in the middle, right? Just like the traditional world, there are federal learning already. Like there's Google who proposed it in 2017, and then everyone who's now using Google Pixel phones, that your typing habits is being predicted by the federal learning mechanism by Google. But then the thing is, Google is the one in the middle, so they can actually see everything. Yes, it's kind of decentralized training that you can't see other users' data in a federated learning setting, right? But Google can see it,
Yeah.
or there's no way Google. There's no way that you can prevent Google not see it, right? So that's where we want blockchain to step in. We don't need Google. We don't need a super node in the middle. We have this on-chain consensus that can actually make the governance between all the users instead of a super node. So this group of users, then when you have the system open to this group of users, you need to worry about, okay, there will always then be some scammers or the poisonous nodes trying to join and hack it, right? So how do
Hmm.
you prevent your consensus from such attackers? So that's where the POS makes the effect. So in every node, every phone, let's as my example, every phone had to stake in certain amount of Flock to join the training. And then if you are not performing well, or if you are trying to actually poisonous the whole model, then your token will be slashed, your token rewards will be slashed, versus other honest people, other honest nodes, they will get their incentives. So that's a way where we actually to eliminate such malicious behaviors within the network. So that's the utility of the token. But then also, now since the token is kind of like spread between different users and also some traders, right? So many of them are also using it, as I mentioned, as a delegation intermediate to delegate to those trainers, so that they can actually earn higher APRs based on the training nodes that they chose to delegate to.
I see. Let's go into I think one really unique thing that, as I did my research on Flock, is you have a model store. Tell us
Mhm.
about the model store and how people on the Flock ecosystem can use this.
Yeah, we're actually rebranding this model store very soon, but in the beginning, it just like something like OpenAI provided as OpenAI model store, right? So
Mhm,
you have your model, you train, you fine tune, or maybe just prompt engineered it, and you think, oh, this model at this stage is the best that can maybe answer your question in a more, for example, waifu tone that you think is the best than any other waifu in the world, and then you pack it
mhm,
up as an app and then just launched it in Flock model space, right? Or in OpenAI model space. Yeah, same case with Flock. So you train a model, you compete with each other, and then you won, and you feel like this is the best model for this task. I need to, even more utilize on the model, so you can launch it on Flock model space, and people then can plug and play and even pay for the usage of such models, right? And because now the new agent summer is kind of like super hot, so we will see lots of people not only just launch their model there, but also having their agents just alongside such models. So we are rebranding the marketplace to include such agent launch as well, just to make the whole experience very seamlessly with all the models that built on Flock.
it's quite exciting. I'm looking at the Scroll GPT right now, and this is Scroll the layer 2, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. No, this is really cool. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this grows, as you create more models or participants on the Flock ecosystem create these models, how they can be used and how you'll market
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
No, it's very interesting. The, you announced recently a partnership with GSR. GSR is a well-known
Trading
mark
firm. Yeah.
trading firm, market maker in the crypto ecosystem. Tell
Mhm.
us I guess the work that Flock is doing with GSR.
Yeah, that's exactly the scenario I mentioned back in the days when I was in banks, right? So like
Hmm.
the data in a trading firm cannot be shared at all, even between different computers, because they are so sensitive. And then you are facing different order book. He is facing another different order book that you shouldn't mess any of those macro up at all, right? But
Hmm.
always such trading firms, they want to have some guidance for trading, or some strategy for trading, like a firm wise. So that's where that we're actually working with DSR to train a model in a privacy preserving setting between
Hmm.
their within their own internal desks, to train a model that don't really expose any sensitive data that's not supposed to be shared between different teams. So yeah, like it's like exact case about data silo issue I mentioned about in financial industry, where it's just you just cannot share it. But if you want to have a bigger model, or great model within your own firm, right, you have to have enough data to train that model, and then
Hmm.
that's like a dilemma. Like there's it's unsolvable before Flock. So now, yeah, there's a solution, and then yeah, we're training this with GSR together, and GSR gonna onboard many of such strategy and trading agents within their own network. So in some sense, you can think of like, yeah, Flock is training the model that's being used by GSR, where GSR is a big market maker for many of the top tokens in the world. So kind of like Flock is um powering the whole Web3 world in a way, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure from GSR's perspective, they're looking for alpha, and they're looking to Flock to help them generate that alpha. Tell us about the privacy preserving way. You mentioned that. Are you using trusted execution environments, or how are you ensuring privacy guarantees for the data?
Right. For us, it's more about, so for us, as we have our own training frameworks that's federated learning based. By definition, federated learning is a way where you don't have to send data anywhere else. It's more about how you decompose the machine learning training process in a way that you put data, you put model into local environments instead of you submit data up to a centralized server for model training. So it's like a reversed way of training. So that's by definition. And in that definition, is
Mm.
your data is already safe. That's already been secured. But then recently, not recently, sorry, like last year we are actually the only AI infra project being granted by Eastern Foundation, right? Where Eastern Foundation is very focused on zero knowledge proofs, and we actually co-authored a paper called ZKF flock, meaning that using still this flock mechanism, which I just explained, right, a reversed way of training, but adding ZK on EVM, adding ZK as the security layer over the transaction. So you already have a very robust training mechanism to ensure your data is local. B, even in this mechanism, all the transmissions between different nodes are still secured in a ZK way. So that's like a double lock for the privacy. So for us, like we are quite open for anything that can be compatible with flock mechanism. So for example, TEE or even FHE one day when actually become truth, right? So that we're happy to explore the collaborations and the possibilities to run such in practice.
Yeah. It's almost like a flavor of multi-party computation where rather than the data going up to some cloud service, it's done locally, is what it sounds like. And by
Yeah,
definition, because it's local, others can't view it. And
yeah,
so privacy is preserved. That's very
yeah,
unique. And now I see how the name Flock, I see where that comes from. It's now
yeah.
because exactly because of that. That's really cool.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you.
how do you think about growth as now Flock is has a sounds like a really healthy um you've got data scientists on one side, you've got data providers on the other side, collaborators. It sounds like it's growing quite healthy in multiple ways, um, and also training submissions. How do you think about growth and some of the metrics that you follow and track?
Yeah. I think so far that the biggest metrics that we're following is to expand our business development, to onboard more business clients that's actually requesting models to be built. Right. So, like I mentioned, GSR and Mocha Brands and many others. We want many of such clients to be pipelined into the training platform to populate the platform with many choices for trainers. Because you don't want to just limit people to look at one task only, right? You want them to have a good window to shop whatever task that they will be interested in. If maybe they are a football fan and they want a model that they want to train, or they are more passionate about training a model that can do I don't know, football game betting or whatever, right? Versus there are people who are more on the comic world, who are more interested in waifu type of agent companions. So
Mhm.
um yeah, so that's one of the biggest metrics that we're focusing right now. And also, as I mentioned to you, right? So since since now that we have so many training nodes and validators in our network, yeah, we still want to expand it even further. That we still want to collaborate with many of such traditional, let's say, AI platforms or AI engineering groups to expand our adoption in from the traditional world. I think for a Web3 project, or actually for a successful Web3 project to sustain in long term, you need to make sure there's the business needs, right? That's actually really bringing the revenue stream, and also the request to make the business case even more stronger. And B, you want to make sure that adoption from the Web 2 world, that's the source of the new commerce into your protocol, into your network, and AI engineers, that's actually our play.
Now, looking at 2025, what are some things you're looking forward to that you could announce to the community?
Oh, right. AI Agents 2.0, right? Some support for that. So we've seen, I'm not sure if that summer's passed yet, but we've seen the AI Agent summer, right? Being super crazy by end of last year. And then, but still, majority of such agents are still in their naive period of existence, let's say, right? I'm hoping in 2025, there will be very interesting new upgrade, however they define 2.0, how 2.0 it should be, right? But there will be a new level or new stage of agents coming up in 2025, and then, well, hopefully we will have a good proportion of such agents, trained on Flock. So yeah, that's of course one of the very important and interesting things. And we are there's one more thing that we announced earlier about the support of the hardware, that we actually now have Apple's M chip hardware support, so that to bring the training and validation barrier all the way down from very expensive NVIDIA cards all the way down to Apple devices. And then that's where another thing that I think is very important for the adoption in Web3 or Web2 is that you want to make sure that the accessibility of your platform is as low as possible, right? But of course, for AI industries, it's a bit hard. If you say that today that your phone can train a model, 30 billion with 30 billion parameters, is a bit of joking, right? But then I think the whole industry is trying. They're trying, and they're using lots of techniques to making this happen. Like what we did, like we do model sharding, we do model split to make those training and layers of the large language model, as small as possible that can fit into an Apple device, and that's already one of the interesting techniques that we've developed and actually contributed to the community. It's open source. It's community contributed to the community already, right? And that's one of the ways that we are helping the industry to make this barrier lower and lower, and to make this, this is also one of the important things, because you don't, if you're thinking about the mass adoption, you don't want to limit users to only come with their high power hardware barriers, right? You want to make sure that everyone, even with the phone one day, with a Raspberry Pi one day, that they can actually join your training network. And I think that's happening, because you think of today, the Moore's law of all of this hardware developments, right? In 2 years' time, maybe your phone can just run as good as I know, 4090 of today. Oh, maybe that's too much. Maybe 3090 of several years ago, right? So, and then we can see that the number going up crazily up, and then several years from now, I think we can see such as edge computing or local device hosted network of decentralized training to be very, very efficient.
Well, that sounds like a great place to end. And congratulations on all the success that Flock has had. And best of luck in 2025 as you continue to grow Flock and its community. Thank you so much, Jihao Sun from
Thank
Flock.io.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Cheers.